We should have gotten 281. We add all these together, except for the fact that this 30 and this 30, we have to apply the 1.158, and then we add 4%. So it's 55, 45, 30, another 45. This is the one I always miss, this 25. And then we have a 30 and a 30 times 1.158 times 2.
And why did you do it by the 30 that's here?
The question is, why does this
That's not a
30
gable end, that's
not,
just,
yeah,
that's
this is a
straight.
picture of a hip.
Mhm.
A hip end, the eave runs horizontal. There's no, it doesn't kick up. These gable ends, we have to do the 1.158.
Okay.
There you go, got it? 200 plus 69, 269.48. We want to see this, no, we see that, we want to jump all that number on that number right there, but we forgot what?
4%.
The 4%. 280.25, there you go, so there's our answer. Know how to do this. It's really not that bad. Believe me, you're going to need to get this one right, because there's going to be some that are going to be tougher. So make sure you can do that. Terrific, terrific. Let's go ahead and bowl our way through the rest of this book. We're almost done with the Walker's Estimator's book. There's not a lot that we hit from this point forward. Let's take a look. Let's see here. We're going to start on page... give me a second here. We'll start on page 1077. Page 1077. Gypsum lath. I'm under gypsum lath, second paragraph. It is furnished 3/8 of an inch thick. The face dimension is approximately 16 by 48, and there are 6 laths in a bundle. We're going to jump all the way to page 1146. 1146, we're talking about sheetrock. Gypsum is the proper generic term for it. There are types of gypsum panels on page 1146. I've got the moisture resistant gypsum panels highlighted. Let me get you to do this. Let me get you to back up one page to 1145. There's a table you need to
They
find.
had this on the test too with the screws.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is an important table to know. You need to know what length screw, and I believe it's a double 5/8. 5/8 double layer panels, and if we're going to put them on standard studs, we're going to need what type of screw? 5/8 double layer to standard studs.
This.
Looks like an 1 5/8 type S bugle, right? Yes, so make sure you can find that. That's the 4th screw down. Okay, that's your standard. The bottom part, that's your maximum. That's your 12 gauge metal framing. You have standard and you have 12 gauge. Those are different screws. Watch for that. Let's go to page 1155. 1155. We're doing some metal framing, some metal studs. And on page 1155, there's a discussion of metal furring. I want you to highlight number 2. The hat-shaped furring channel is used for furring walls and ceilings when insulation board is not required. I want to jump all the way to page 1375. On page 1375, it actually starts on 1373. We're talking about epoxy flooring. I want you to be aware of epoxy flooring. I want you to know about what the limitations of epoxy flooring are and what is not a limitation of epoxy flooring. On page 1373, is there a temperature limitation?
Yes, 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, you got to use it at a certain temperature, right? Is there a pot life limitation?
Yes.
Sure. Once you mix it, you better use it. The pot life. Is, no, page 1374, is there a mixing ratio limitation?
Yes.
Yeah.
There is, absolutely. You have to mix it on certain ratios or it's not gonna work. On page 1375, is there a shelf life limitation?
You know,
There is not. Because, but when you don't mix it, when it's just sitting on the shelf, it tells us here, it has an almost unlimited shelf life, right? So, of those four, there is not a shelf life limitation. Let's go to 1385. Still talking about epoxy flooring here. And I want you to tell me, can you put epoxy on a steel surface? 1386. Can you put it on steel?
No.
Yeah,
Yes.
as long as it's dry and clean, right?
Yeah.
Can you put it on old concrete? Look on page 1387 at the top right.
mhm.
Yeah. They're usually contaminated or sealed, and you're gonna have to prep it, but you can put it on there. Can you put it on tile?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you put it on wood?
Yes.
Can you put it on asphalt? Look under general surface preparation on the top of page 1386.
You can, yeah.
Epoxy flooring systems may be applied over any sound substrate with the exception of asphalt.
Right. Petroleum-based surface.
Yes, can't put it on asphalt or petroleum. All right. Let's go to page 13. Maybe not. Once again, I want you to be aware of chapter 24. If you go to page 1468, and by the way, on 1467 and 1468, there's a list of a bunch of cities and a number next to that city. What that is saying is that this particular book is based on a city, which is, what city is it? Akron, let's see. If you read the top of page 1467, which one does it say? Did you see that?
Adjustments factor of 97.
Fontaine adjustment, 97 USCs, the US average is, the US average is the base, so its cost factor is theoretically 1. All the cost adjustment factors are figured into it. Basically, you have to take whatever number you get and adjust it by this particular factor to have it apply to that particular city. Another place in this book, it actually tells you what city they actually use for this book. But regardless, if you're going to be working in Jacksonville, Florida, what you would take these numbers and multiply it by what? 0.9. So theoretically, it's 10% cheaper to work in Jacksonville than it is according to this book. Let's look at Miami. Yeah, 6% cheaper.
Maybe 0.94%.
Yeah. How about if you want to look at any other Florida cities like Tampa? Is Tampa in here? Yeah. Tampa's still. I figured some of these cities would be more expensive, but I guess not. Interesting.
You say it's 10% less?
Yeah, because you multiply times a factor of 0.90. So that essentially that's 10% less. Yeah. Once again, on page, it would be page 1469, but there is no more page numbers, so it's actually chapter 24, page 1, 24, page 2, 24.2 at the top. That's a real important page for us. We've already seen that several times. There's some different, as we flip over a couple of pages, you'll see where all your formulas are. Those are some pretty good formulas. The problem with these formulas is that Walker just doesn't do a real good job of making it very clear. There's a glossary a few pages back. It's on page 20 24.27. 24.27. See if you can find the glossary. It says Appendix A at the top of it. Glossary of construction terms. They're in alphabetical order, so I want you to highlight the ones I call out. I want you to find arch, A-R-C-H. Under arch, I want you to highlight a jack arch, a major arch, and a minor arch. You ready? You got it? Let's go over to cavity wall. Go a couple pages over and see if you can find cavity wall. And then I want you to find cull, C-U-L-L. Know what the definition of that is. I want you to find mortar, M-O-R-T-A-R, mortar. Underneath mortar, within the definition of mortar, there's a fat mortar, high bond mortar, and lean mortar.
Which page are you on right now?
I'm on page A17, but these, for some reason, the glossary, the pages on some books are different than others. You're on A15. Yeah, mortar, M-O-R-T-A-R. And I want you to find lean mortar, L-E-A-N, lean mortar, deficient in cementitious components. And then we have pointing on the next page. Flip over. Pointing, troweling mortar into a joint after the masonry units are laid. Pointing. And then I want you to find wall, W-A-L-L. There's lots of different types of walls. So find curtain wall, and then find shear wall, S-H-E-A-R, shear wall. And then as you go towards the back of the book, you flip a few more pages and you'll find the index. This book has a great index. You should be able to find it if it's in this book. Before we finish walkers, there's a couple of things that came to mind as I was going through that I missed. One of them, what was one of them, guys? The fencing, right?
Right.
Let's go back and see if we can find that fencing. It was under site work. It was in chapter 2. And they get very specific about commercial fencing and residential fencing and exactly what it'll cost. And I believe we're going to be on page 289. If you can back up to page 289. If you read this, it is actually very self-explanatory. Industrial chain link fences usually consist of 3-inch OD tubular end posts, 2 to 2.5 inch OD intermediate posts, depending on the height. Top and bottom rails are not always used. Spring wire is used for the top and bottom stability and preventing a chain link fabric sag. The spring wire is at least a 6 gauge material. The wire fabric is normally 9 gauge. Remember, this is all industrial. Next paragraph, for chain link fencing over 6 feet, 6 gauge wire will be used in lieu of 9. Wire arms available, single or double installation, 2 to 4. The maximum line post or intermediate post spacing is 10 feet on center. They're usually set in 9-inch diameter by 3-inch deep concrete footing. Lots of stuff. And here is the table. There's your table. Industrial chain link fencing, cost per linear foot. Wow. Break it all down for you.
Jack, where do we find it again in the back? I know we went through this before. In order to find 289.
The question is, how do we know to go to page 289? That's the $64,000 question. We just have to have this one tabbed. There's no way to look. The only other thing I can tell you is in the
CSI division.
in the CSI master format divisions, it's in there. And you can use that as kind of a table of contents for this book, because this book is formatted, it is organized according to the CSI master format. And it's right there in black and white, for crying out loud. You had 3 minutes to find it on the test.
And you go to metals and then
And then there's residential on page 290 as well. Residential on page 290. There's lots of good stuff. Okay, that's our Walker's Building Estimators Reference Book. Congratulations.